Our adventure today is all about patterns. Patterns are everywhere. There are so many categories of patterns. There's one basic rule is there needs to be at least two colors for it to be a pattern. If you remember our notans, it was very similar where you had the two colors. That was primarily black and white. This can be any colors, any shapes. Your regular patterns, let's start. Let's just start with a list of all of them. Woven patterns, those are like traditional baskets. Fabric is woven in between one thread over the other, like a weaving, which is what it is. Then there's man-made, your wallpaper. Fabric, because that is man-made. It's more precise when it's man-made. It's not as organic and natural. Your buildings are also generally a pattern. The windows in them. Then there's another one with the buildings, it's stacking, where bricks are stacked on top of each other. Roof tiles are stacked either on top of each other or next to each other. Let's see, the floors in some with the tiles are also a pattern. When you get into natural, it's a little more difficult because it's an irregular pattern, but when you're looking through a tree and the leaves, you see that negative and positive space right there, and it creates a pattern. When you take a butterfly wing and you put it under a microscope, you're going to see patterns that the normal eye cannot, and which are actually outstanding if you've ever seen it. Raindrops running down the car window when you're driving create a pattern. Again, irregular, not your repeat standard pattern that you see on fabrics and wallpapers and things, but it doesn't mean that it's not a pattern. So when we go through this, there's going to be several different art projects we're going to be doing with this, because the pattern it's just a huge part of the artistic process. Even if it's just 2 or 3 things, it's a pattern. When you use both geometric and organic shapes, that's when you're going to start getting irregular patterns. Fabric is probably one of the most irregular patterns because it's made for decorative purposes. The things in your building and man-made are practical. They're designed to look a certain way. Windows in a building, if you've got one giant window here and then you've got like 6 little windows just scattered around, it's a pattern, but it's not appealing, unless you're looking for something a little off the charts. So when you're doing your patterns, I want you to think of all of these categories. But when we do start, we're just going to do repeat regular patterns. We're going to do both in color and black and white, both just drawn, and then we're going to get a little more creative towards the end. So our next journey is, let's start pattern learning. We just had a pattern overload, and now we're going to start at the beginning. We're going to do regular repeat patterns. They're something that you see everywhere. There's the grid on here. There's the polka dots on my shirt. There's the stripes on my hand towel in case I get glue on it later on. They're everywhere you look, like I explained earlier. So the first thing we're going to do is find a piece of, I'm using old boxes because they're the perfect thickness. You can use corrugated cardboard, but watch when you try to cut it. It's fine. 2 hands. It's fine if you are just cutting out geometric shapes. Organic shapes with this are a little more difficult. It can be used. In fact, I'll put it here. Maybe we'll try it out. But with these, it's much easier for your scissors to cut a pattern out. And I'll recut this one to show you. Put your finger in the middle of the pattern. Oh, this just reminded me of something that I learned yesterday when I was doing these. Take your time. All right, and then since this is a really big piece of cardboard, I'm going to cut this out smaller because you have more control. I always tell kids to move the paper and let the scissors chomp. It gives you much more control over the flow of whatever you're cutting. See? If you're chomping at it like this, you're going to get these jiggity-jaggedy lines, and it's not like it's wrong, it's just going to upset you because it's not what you were thinking of. So I have a repeat pattern here. It's up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, up. And then we have these in, and I did put the little piece in because there would be another one here for the repeat pattern. Let's see if I can get that off. Now, I'm going to show you how to do that very quickly. What I learned yesterday is there is a smooth, shiny side on these, and they tend to want to like go around and move. So have that facing up, and then you can keep it in place easier. I'll do just a quick one. Start on the left, go up and around slowly because it seems like it's going to be really, look at that. It's going to be easy, but like that. Miss Linda is not taking her own advice at this moment. This must need 2 fingers. So if you start getting frustrated when you're doing this, like step away from it and just realize I need to slow down, realize that my goal is to make a repeat regular pattern. There's no time limit. No one's telling me I have to do it quick. I feel that way because I am on a time limit. You are not. You can pause me. You can go backwards and watch something again. I've got this one shot and I'm going to make it right. So I would put this one this way, this one this way. We'd go all the way across and get our repeat pattern with our teardrop shape. For the younger kids, this size is good, and go bigger if you want. The smaller it is, the harder it is to trace, and we don't want to frustrate our students or our children. So I always say to try to stay a little organized. I'm going to put this off to the side and bring in a geometric shape. This is really cool. This actually makes you look up and down. Like I've always said, geometric shapes give direction. So this is up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. I'm not going to redo this one. I did it in a different manner though, so I want to see if you prefer one or the other. This is just 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. And to be honest, I had at one point it didn't look right through my eyes and into my mind. So I actually had to do like up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And I was like, well, they're going the right directions. They just are a little more irregular, even though it's the same motif each time I do it. So when you do it over and over again. And you don't have to fill the page. You can just do half the page and see if that's really appealing to you. And now I have something to show you that I'm not going to recommend unless you really are patient and really are taking your time. I thought I would go a little wild. This was a little harder to trace around, and then I decided to use a purple pencil. And the colored pencils, you're almost going to have to go over it twice. Let me demonstrate. So this is down. I'll do this one here. Try to get our pattern going. You have to put it in the middle and maybe even use all your fingers. See what happens when you just do that? It's not very dark. So I ended up having to go over it twice, which is fine. You know, nothing like a little hard work to make something look amazing. But I'm thinking if this is your first time doing it, you might get a little tired of trying. And see, with all these different designs, I moved my paper, which probably was not a good idea. I thought I would try it. But the good part about using these stencils is that you can re-put them on there and find exactly where you started before. All right, so this one's a little more difficult. It will create a really great pattern. And where's that little square? Since I cut this little square out, we could probably, let's put one on the end here. Miss Linda never likes to not try something. I mean, all I can do is find out that it's an amazing discovery, or it's something that I probably wouldn't want to do again. So this is changing the pattern, but it's also making it more interesting. As you're practicing and doing these, you'll find that the more ornate, which means, it's a fancy word for fancy, the more ornate it is, the more appealing that it's going to look to whoever's looking at it. And mostly it should be appealing to you. So once you're comfortable creating those patterns and you understand the rhythm of them, it's almost like sets in math. You know, it's a rhythm of numbers. It's the same thing, you know, 2 of this, 1 of this, 2 of this. Everything in life is coordinated with each other somehow. Then I thought, let's have some fun with it, because, and then in my folder, so I'm organized, and I can move this because I don't need it. I thought, let's do some colored patterns. This one I'm going to get a little wild. I don't even know what's going to happen with that one. I figured I would share that with you when I'm with you. All right, so I have an organic shape. Doesn't look like a hand. It doesn't look like a leaf. And then from the scraps, I saw these and I thought, oh my gosh, we'll put those in between and just really make it interesting. So, tricks. Promised you tricks. Here's a trick. If you want to make life easier for yourself and you're cutting out the same shape over and over again, watch. I'm going to put it here so you can see better. I'm going to put my fingers here and line it up and then press it in the middle. And then press out, and you'll get a pretty even crease in there. And when you put your shape on it, you have a choice. You can either try cutting around it, which will take you much more time, or you can just go around it. That's what a stencil is for repeating the same pattern over and over again. So now that I have 2, I can cut out 2 at once. Saves me time. All right. Oh, and when you're doing this, if you put it up against the crease, when you open it up, it's going to look like a greeting card or something. It'll just open up like this, which, hey, might look great. You could do that over and over again and do a different kind of pattern. Oh, I might have to try it now. Every time I get an idea, it says, do it again, do it again. Now, I've talked about this before. When using a glue stick, have a colored piece of paper available so that you can see where the glue is. This is the side that I used yesterday. You can see that glue on there. And now that I'm not wasting paper, I'm always trying to repurpose things, I'm going to use this side. So before I glue, I want to make sure that it's going to fit. Yes, it will fit. Oh, let me show you where I got my triangles. Here's where I got my triangles, or my diamonds. I just took these little pieces and cut my diamonds. The more you save, the better the world will be. All right, so I've got 4 of those. It doesn't matter if they're perfect size, everyone, because, you know, we want it to be more organically artistic. So put your glue stick up. It's got a little tip on it. And remember, this gets goopy. Oh, let's see. I don't know if you can see this. And it's okay. Make sure when using a glue stick to get the outer line. This is where my little hand towel comes in. If you get glue on it, get your little wet hand towel and wipe it. All right, glue. The colors you choose, because when I told you earlier that you need 2 colors to make a pattern, you need a background or the negative space, and you need a colored, the positive space. If it's white on white, it's not going to be a pattern. It might feel like a texture, but it's not going to be a pattern. All right, now, since this is super sticky, I also keep these by my side. If you use this to press down, you're going to get it flat. With glue sticks, you need to sometimes go back and press it down again because it just wants to lift up a little bit. So I will do, I'm not going to do another one because it's not going to fit. I'll just get one side of it. I want to try the experimental one that I wanted to share with you and see how it worked. to show you that even if you're a grown-up and even if you're an art instructor, you get to experiment and try new things too. So I deliberately, or I on purpose, put these on an angle to see if maybe we can get more of a radial, which is the circle that I was talking about earlier. All right, to save time, I traced these on here. And if you're younger, go ahead and leave more space in between because it'll be easier for you to cut out. If you're adventurous and very sure of yourself, line them up. Oops, excuse me, I didn't do this. Cut that big piece off, get it out of the way. You can do it like this to where you can just up, down, and then this is what I was talking about before. If it's on the crease, you just get another shape. It's not a mistake. But since I want mine separate, I'm going to actually cut that off first. It's just that little piece where the fold went. All right. Now, I'm cutting super fast. I don't recommend you do that. I just don't want it to get to the point where it's like, okay, Miss Linda, stop cutting. All right, move this out of my way. Get all my pieces. Now, before I glue, this orange is really bright on the green. Before I glue, I want to lay them down and see what they're going to do. Because remember, natural patterns, this was like that, just give it a little pull. Natural patterns, like flowers and things, I just made a flower without even trying with triangles. Look at that. That's amazing. That is really bright. And I love it. So even if I just put these out here as a matter of interest, like they're just the little fallen petals that have landed, it would work. So red paper again. All right, you're going to see Miss Linda's speed glue. Let me look at this. I can turn it. I can see where my glue was. I don't want glue all over everything. Organic shapes are a little harder to glue than geometric ones. Notice I didn't move those. If I move those, I'm going to kind of lose where I was at. Leave them there. 1, 2, 3. All right. I needed to twist my glue open. Remember, get the tips really well. All right. So once I glue all those down, and again, this helps so much when you want to just press things down. So after you glue all of them together, if you choose to put a little circle there, or maybe little circles all over, you've got your pattern. You've just made it a little more irregular, which is, there's nothing wrong with it. I think creativity overshadows any kind of rules that you think there are. I want you to use your imagination, your sense of color, your way of cutting shapes out. I want it to be your way. This is your time to find your creative path. So now that my eyes have recovered from the bright orange and green pattern that we were making at the end, I can say thank you for being with me. Practice your patterns, look around you. You're going to be surprised that you never notice that everything is a pattern pretty much. And again, I say it every week and I probably will. Please share this with someone, teach someone, practice at home, and we'll see you next class. Thank you.